home, at least during the day, to upwards of 50,000 workers in those 220 floors.
Right.
I am reminded of a couple of things that happened recently, Dr. Gross. Not long ago, within the last couple of weeks, in fact, there was a pilot who flew. There was another one. We just saw another one. We just saw another one apparently go. Another plane just flew into the second tower. This has to be deliberate, folks.
Well, that would begin to say that, yeah.
We just saw on live television as a second plane flew into the second tower of the World Trade Center. Now, given what has been going on around the world, some of the key suspects come to mind: Osama bin Laden. Who knows what? Eric Shawn is with us. Eric, I know you have a lot of sources at the FBI and other agencies like that. What can you tell us?
Well, first, I apologize for being out of breath because I was walking down Fifth Avenue, which is close to our studios, and I heard a jet, perhaps a 737 or a small Airbus, flying low, unusually low over Fifth Avenue, making a right. I'm not going to say that I don't know, I don't have any reports on what type of plane hit the World Trade Center, but people looked up and it made a right toward the building. John, what we just saw, though, obviously, if that indeed was a second aircraft that hit the southern tower of the World Trade Center, that obviously raises the specter of an intentional terrorist attack here, if that is indeed what we are looking at. I don't know what the reports say of what type of plane hit the tower, but I did see a jet airliner that was fairly low. It was unusual, although not unusual in air traffic patterns, because airplanes that fly to LaGuardia often are vectored down south straight over Manhattan, but of course at an altitude that is far above the buildings clearly, and that the avenue, if you look down Fifth Avenue, oftentimes you see planes, especially the ones from the north, coming down before they vector on a left turn to go up into 1331 or 422, the two runways up at LaGuardia. But clearly this is tremendously disturbing if indeed that explosion that we just saw on television is indeed another airplane. This raises the possibility that is this an intentional attack, a terrorist attack. As we know, the World Trade Center was bombed in the garage back in the early 90s.
We're going to cut away from the live pictures for just a moment to replay what just happened. And I thought when it first happened, I thought it was a replay, but in fact we saw this live perhaps 2 minutes ago. Look at that. A jet plane, clearly a jet plane, a good-sized airplane, slamming into the second tower of the World Trade Center. This after a report of another plane slamming into the North Tower, both towers now in flames. We have reports of at least 6 people killed, 1,000 injured, and clearly those numbers are going to go up. Bill Stokes is on the phone with us. He is an eyewitness to what happened. Bill, we just saw the video of the plane hitting the second tower. What did you see?
Well, I got to correct you and say I wasn't exactly an eyewitness. However, I was an ear witness. I live on Thompson Street in the Village, which looks directly down to the two towers. I was sitting at my desk by the window here working and heard an abnormally low flying plane come right down the street practically, and then followed by a loud bang. People rushed from the apartments onto the street. I've never seen anything like it. Everybody's a little freaked out here.
With good reason.
And there's a sanitation worker that was picking up garbage that actually saw the plane fly down that street over Soho, and he saw it hit. And my question to him immediately was, thinking that this could be a missile, I said, was it a plane or was it a small missile? He said, no, it was definitely a plane, and it seemed like a large plane.
Well, we saw a large plane hit the second tower minutes after the first tower was engulfed in flames. We're going to look at it again. Look at the lower part of your screen. There is clearly a jet, a twin-engine jet, slamming into one side, and then the fireball, the debris raining out the far side of the South Tower of the World Trade Center. Now, Erica, I am reminded again of what happened back in 1989. The intent of those terrorists back then was to actually bring down the tower, wasn't it?
Yes, and I would obviously think if anyone is in there, they've got to get out immediately, I would imagine. What we just saw was a twin-engine, appeared to be a twin-engine jetliner. You've got several makes. It could be a 737, perhaps. It looked kind of large, so it could be a 737-800, which is the newest generation of airliners. I think the question is, where does that airliner come from? They're expensive. Was it hijacked? Do we know where it came from? Were there any markings? Were they, are these intentional pilots who are kamikaze pilots executing this kamikaze attack into the World Trade Center? Were they stolen? Are they small Airbuses? Those are flown by U.S. Air. The 737-800s are flown by the Delta shuttle that goes from LaGuardia to New York. You've got the one that I saw going down Fifth Avenue before it made a turn looked very white. Now that could theoretically indicate it would be a Delta shuttle. I'm not saying it is, folks. I don't want to alarm people. Also, Air Canada flies those twin-engine smaller Airbuses down from Montreal and down from Toronto. So I think one of the first things investigators have got to start to do right now is find out where these planes are from, who is flying them, are there any more coming, and what can they do to intercept any others if there are. I imagine that there has got to be a ground hold right now at all the airports in the New York area, as well as a freeze in the air traffic center of all the aircraft around the New York metropolitan area. And if there are any other airplanes coming, perhaps the Air National Guard or others will have to start dealing with this, and in the air, maybe they've already scrambled at the moment as we speak. So I think clearly, judging by the pictures that we've seen, sadly, horribly, what we've long feared and many have worried about and thought could never happen would be a terrorist attack, a deliberate terrorist attack on the World Trade Center, as we are witnessing right now. Not obviously the accident that happened with the Empire State Building back in the 1940s, 1945, a B-24. Yeah, 25 hit the Empire State Building by accident when he descended through clouds trying to go to Newark.
This is clearly deliberate.
That chilling, horrible scene that we just saw, I think, is attack not just in the World Trade Center, but at the very soul and the very heart of our nation, John.
Kai Simonson is in the WNYW chopper and has perhaps the best view of this. Let's listen into Kai's narration now.
If it indeed were two planes, we did see one. How did they manage to get into the area? And to
you
just
wonder,
hit the plane like that?
These are all the things that are going to have to be answered. How could two large planes just that quickly get out of the control from our local?
Presumably commercial aircraft. Now we can't speak to the first one, but that second aircraft that
to answer that question that is being raised, how could two aircraft get in there so close? Well, if two pilots want to take their planes anywhere, you know, it's a free country, and we don't have anti-aircraft guns on our skyscrapers. I mean, it takes a matter of seconds, literally, for a jetliner to get from Newark Airport to the World Trade Center. A jetliner at full speed could cover that distance in a minute or two. So a couple of pilots bent on destruction, and clearly these could do something like this. Now, again, folks, we have to remind you, 50,000 people work in these buildings each and every day. It happened right at 9 a.m. A good number of those folks were already at their desks. The death toll is certainly going to be tremendous in this tragedy here, and that's all that we can say about it. It is a tragedy. It is abhorrent. It is disgusting. But
John, you have to, I'm wondering, are these pilots terrorists themselves? Are there terrorists in the cockpit who are holding guns to a pilot's head? Did they
I can't imagine.
You can speculate completely about how this happens, because obviously it takes a lot of training and expertise to fly a complicated, sophisticated aircraft, whether it's a Boeing 737 or a smaller Airbus. These are not little Cessnas and little Pipers. So there is you have to wonder and raise what possibility there is with the type of scenario that was going on in the cockpit. All right, they are whether it's the pilots or if they're hijackers, intentionally doing this.
A lot of questions still to be answered. Let's listen again to Kai Simonson from the FOX5 chopper.
The fire department and emergency services can handle both in that confined space without a tremendous
no matter how much you set in place, how much you try to prepare for, until it actually happens, it's just not the same thing.
Again, you're looking at a live picture of the World Trade Center, where shortly before 9 o'clock this morning, and then shortly after 9 o'clock, planes apparently